The word shaman makes my skin crawl, but it opens a door. And once you step through it, I can show you where the real teachings live. I am a shaman. I have incredible resistance to using this word. And in recent years, the path to reclamation of this word has really further dirtied this word. Let's get into it.
Hey there, I am Jessa. I am a South American trained shaman. I have been working with Amazon plant medicine and Andean spiritual cosmology for nearly a decade. I'm also a Tantra coach, an alchemist, a channel, and an all around cosmic witch. So let's talk about it.
So the word shaman has clear, traceable linguistic origins, and it has a long history of being misunderstood, misused, and oversimplified, especially in modern spirituality. The English word of shaman comes from the Tungusic or Evenki language of Siberia, specifically the Evenki word for saman. It was first recorded by Russian explorers and missionaries in the 17th century. Its original context in Evenki, Saman refers to a person who enters altered states of consciousness, who travels between worlds, who mediates the spirit realm on behalf of their community, or who performs healing, divination, and soul retrieval. It is not a generic word for a spiritual person, it is a specific role within a specific culture. How did this word spread globally? Well, it was first adopted by Russian ethnographers, then by German anthropologists, then by English speaking scholars, until it became an umbrella term for any indigenous healer or ritual specialist worldwide. And this is technically inaccurate. Let's first talk about what it does not mean. It does not come from Sanskrit or Quechua or Shipibo or Amazonian or Andean traditions, nor does it come from Native American languages. None of those cultures use the word shaman to describe their sacred practitioners. They each have their own words. In the Keros tradition or the Quechua tradition, it is Paco or Altomasayo or Hampak. Shipibo has different words. So does Navajo, Lakota, Mongolian, all with their own cosmology and all with their own training. This matters because the word carries a very specific Siberian cosmology. It has a cultural lineage and a historic mislabeling of many indigenous traditions by outsiders. Using it casually can erase those distinctions. At the same time, it has now become a globalized word in modern usage, but the responsibility to use it is with awareness. And all of this being said, the role I play in my life path is that of a shaman. And yes, I do use the word. I am not trained in the lineage of Siberia. I want to say something that is uncomfortable but necessary. The word shaman is not the word for what I do. It is not the word my lineage uses. It is not the word my teachers use. And honestly, it is a word that makes my skin crawl because the word shaman didn't come from the Andes, the Amazon, or the Keros. It comes from Siberia. And yet, through colonization, anthropology, and a long history of outsiders naming what they didn't understand, the world now uses shaman as a blanket term for anything that looks remotely spiritual, indigenous, or ceremonial. That's flattening. It devalues the lineage and it erases the history. It collapses everything sacred into one word, as if tradition and cosmologies and initiations and responsibilities are interchangeable. They are not. My teachers call me a Chakaruna. Chaka meaning bridge, Runa meaning person, a bridge person. That is my actual role. That is my title in the lineage under which I have trained. That is what I am accountable to. So, why would I use a word that doesn't belong to me? Why would I use a word that has been weaponized, misused, and turned into a spiritual buzzword? Because here's the truth. Because shaman is the only word the global audience recognizes to describe the general category of work that I do. It is not the truest word. It is the accessible one. And sometimes when you're trying to educate a world that has been miseducated, you have to start where they are. so you can walk them back to where the truth actually lives. I use the word shamanic the way that you would use a street light on a dark road, not because it's the final destination, but because it lets people see just far enough to take a step toward the real teaching. Once they are here, and I mean truly here, I can introduce them to the actual language of my lineage, to the role of Chakaruna, to the cosmology that I belong to the responsibilities and ethics that root this particular work. I refuse to let colonization erase the truth, and I refuse to let misunderstandings define this path. So, yes, I use the word shamanic, but I do it consciously, carefully, and with prayer because the bridge has to be strong enough for the people to walk across and true enough that they know where they've actually arrived at. So, what does a chakaruna do? A chakaruna is a keeper of the keys. I am not a doorway per se, but a portal opener, essentially a nurse to Great Spirit. I know how to respond when I'm asked for a scalpel or for a set of sutures. I have learned how to listen and I have established a communication system within the systems that I work within. I use a medicine wheel. This is the map that allows me to track the energies that are coming through. My relationship with the elements and the relations within the wheel allow me to interpret what is being asked. This requires great humility. I have learned that this role is not about me. There is a type of emptiness, almost isolation, that comes with this particular role, and an absolute dedication and devotion to that which exists outside of myself. This is, in theory, being the hollow bone. If you think about a large hollow log, when you pound on it, it echoes the sound. And this is the role of the shaman. So there was a couple of years ago that I was traveling through the southwest of the United States doing rituals and ceremonies and gatherings. And we happened to be going through Sedona, Arizona. This is a place that I had visited many times with my mother as a child into these vortexes and these portals. And when I returned to Sedona, I noticed there was a significant amount of crystal shops, rock shops, a lot of modern day spirituality. There was nothing wrong with this, but it did raise some questions inside of me because my alignment and the forces that I work with are with that of the earth. It is of the mother. I remember asking the mother, "What are crystals to you?" And what she said to me, she said, "They are power vortexes. They are there to provide the energies for healing that are needed." And what she then said is that they are intended to be left inside of my soil, inside of my crust, so that people can journey in order to find that healing, because there is more healing that happens on the journey than on arriving at the destination. I had a dream while I was in that area where I walked into one of the crystal shops and with a giant staff like Moses and pounded the staff on the ground and said, "Let these people go." The windows shattered and all of the rocks started rolling outside of the building to return themselves into the earth. This brought up a whole series of questions for me where I started asking the mother when I would sit with her, "What does this mean to you? What does that mean to you?" And one of the questions I asked her was, "What is plastic to you?" And her response was something that shocked me to my core. Her response to that question was that plastic is made from the marrows of my bones, and you are sucking me dry. So for several months, I sat with this and I really got on to this high horse about plastics and not wanting to touch them, not wanting to be around them, not wanting them in my home. And yes, this is valid, but it was not the point. So I sat with this for a few months. And finally, I was coming back from a ceremony. And I had this little whispering in my ear that said, "Do you want to know something else about plastics?" And I said, "Yes, of course I do." And what she told me at that time was that you were sucking the marrows of my bones dry. Keep going, because you were turning me into the hollow bone. And in this way, when I become more hollowed out, my message will become louder. And this essentially is the work of the Chakaruna. This is the work of the shaman. This is the work of those that go in to negotiate your contracts on behalf of you and your community. So, yes, the origins word of shaman is not accurate for every lineage, only the Siberian. The role in which is performed is very similar, with slight subtleties in the cosmology, the traditions, and the initiations. That's what I got for you today. Hey, so if this resonated, visit my website at jessafreimeyer.com to explore upcoming courses, free offerings, and don't forget to click the buttons. New videos on spiritual leadership, desire alchemy, and embodied transformation every week. See you next time.